I'll wait.
Yeah, just wait till the PowerPoint.
Yeah, tell me what.
Good morning. It's 10:30. This is the North Whatcom Fire District 21 regular meeting for the Board of Commissioners. It's February 19th. We'll do a roll call first. I'm Bruce Ansel.
Matt Rigberg.
Kimberly McMurray.
Greg Anthony.
Tony Malillo.
Dave Ralston.
Jason Vanderbeek.
All right.
And
Oh, sorry. Mr. Crawford, thank you for joining us. And Steve Cooley from D4 is with us as well. Thank you. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, you're fine. I staggered the seats.
Public comment is our first item on the agenda, and it appears that we have two members of the public here. Thank you for joining us. The public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person, and the board typically does not respond to questions or things like that, but we can certainly follow up if necessary if there's something that you have. So we'll start with Delia, name and address.
I'm going to defer to
my
committee member.
Okay. Sorry. Jennifer then.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Plamba and I live in Semiahmoo. And I just wanted to say the chief came to the last Blaine City Council meeting, which I attended, and presented the levy lid lift issue to City Council. And when they asked what range was being considered, I believe he said from 70 to 110 was the range. And one of the questions Council asked was, well, how long would the highest range get us before you'd have to come back? And the answer was 5 years. And so I would just like to say, if you're considering a range, go for the highest because if this gives us three talking points. One, it buys us 5 years. Two, the people of Semiahmoo are starting to notice their insurance rates going up. So that will show the discrepancy even more. And three, this time around, and this was mentioned at the city council meeting, there will be a fire station on Semiahmoo Parkway. So I say go for it. Go as high as you can.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And I was wondering if, like last month, if we could defer public comments to after the discussion of the levy lid lift, where you opened it up again for public comments, because I don't really have anything to say until I hear what you all have to say and what you're thinking. Would that be all right?
If the board is okay with that, I know that is done regularly in other venues. It's hard, like you say, to comment if you don't know what you're commenting on.
Exactly.
So, but if the board is okay with allowing that to happen, I'm assuming you would like to comment today at this meeting.
I would, but
Okay.
I don't know what to comment about.
Sure. Hopefully we address everything you were wondering about before your comment. All right, thank you. Our next, and again, thank you for being here. We appreciate your participation and understanding of our needs here in the fire district. So former Commissioner Scott Fisher passed away on Valentine's Day, actually. He served North Whatcom as a commissioner from 2020 through 2024, and I believe Hughes came in and fulfilled the remainder of his term when he stepped there. Just a little brief background. Scott was born in Bellingham, and he actually moved to Birch Bay in 1960 and graduated from Blaine High School in 1970. I know that when he was in Birch Bay, one of his passions was getting Dungeness crab, and I know that I took him Dungeness crab several times during his tenure here as a commissioner, and he really enjoyed that. He served our country in the United States Air Force, was discharged in 1981, and then worked in the fishing industry for 4 years. Then he was hired by the Port of Bellingham and served 32 years with the Port of Bellingham from 1985 to 2018, and then again became a fire commissioner here in 2020 through 2024. In the Port of Bellingham, he was promoted to the rank of captain in 1997. He served on some of the union boards there, was a union vice president, assisted with merging then Local 3266 into the Bellingham Local 106. And he was also a Whatcom County Reserve deputy from 1985 to 1997. So he was certainly a public servant. And if you would all join me for a moment of silence for Scott Fisher. His memorial is going to be for the board here or anyone, March 21st at noon at the Blaine Boat Center at the docks down in Blaine. Anyway, if you join me in a moment of silence. All right, thank you very much. We will open the Volunteer Pension Board meeting at 10:37. We have the first item, approval of the January 15th minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. And we have a new volunteer, Chief.
Yes, a new volunteer, Kinsey DeHaan, she's going to be a tender and rehab volunteer. Joins us from, she was formerly with the Linden Fire Department.
Okay. So you need the board's approval to accept her as a volunteer.
Correct.
Is there a motion to approve new volunteer Kinsey
DeHaan.
DeHaan? Thank you. Questions, comments, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. And then we have a couple of volunteer separations. Chief?
Yes, got two volunteer separations, both for lack of participation. As you may remember, the Board of Volunteer Firefighters only allows active volunteers to be members of that system. So we have to certify each year whether someone's getting their training. And unfortunately, these two individuals were not able to maintain their training regimen. So Laura Brewer and Dalton King, I'd like to go ahead and separate them.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the volunteer separations of Laura Brewer and Dalton King?
So moved.
Discussion, comments? Are we having issues with participation more than this, or?
No, we brought in we greatly expanded in 2023 the tender group, and so this is just kind of natural attrition.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Anything else for the Volunteer Pension Board?
No, sir.
We'll go ahead and close that meeting at 10:39 and open the regular Board of Commissioners meeting with the approval of the consent agenda. And the consent agenda includes the meeting minutes from January 15th and February 5th, the financial reports, voucher, payroll, direct deposit payroll. I'll leave those numbers in. The revenue from December finally came in and was $1,798,184.26. Our February expenditures were $908,918.45. Direct deposit payroll, $422,912.71. Payroll taxes voucher, $96,335.39. Benefits voucher, $264,042.97. Child support voucher, $1,386,000. Monthly expenditure voucher.
But just to correct that last one, Bruce.
What'd I say?
1 million.
Oh, that's a lot. $1,386. I just moved the decimal point there.
Couple times, yeah.
That's a lot of child support. Monthly expenditure voucher, I just didn't even pay attention. $100,423.32. Capital projects facilities, $23,818.06. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Moved in second, and any discussions, questions, comments? We had some heater issues I noticed in the
Yes, yeah,
vouchers this.
we did. We had Station 69, the bay heaters are old, and unfortunately, we're not able to get parts for them anymore. One of them died, and one was on its last legs. So what we did was we upgraded the heater. We've replaced two with one. And so that's the $10,000 expenditure in capital facilities that you saw for heaters at Station 69. As you know, that apparatus bay sits right in the path of a northeaster. So on a day like today, it gets pretty chilly. And we need to keep the bay at least 50 degrees just for operating, we don't freeze everything up. So.
All right. I just wondered if that's the beginning of everything falling apart.
It's a boat, sir. It's a giant boat.
Yes, sir. All right. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Commissioner meeting reports.
Nothing from me.
John, anything?
Well, we covered Scott's services. I've been helping his sister out, doing all those details. Thanks for putting it out. Also, you, Kimberly, and I went to Station 42 over on the Brown Road, got some really good information from Ferndale. Maybe possibly we can something look at in the future. Other than that, I got nothing. I'm going to have to bounce a little bit early. So I'll probably pop out of here about 11:20. I got to go back to work.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
Nothing.
Just anticipating the FIFA grant.
What's the date for that?
Well, it was supposed to be the 23rd, but they've extended it for themselves.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be Monday. And I'm also working on a Thanksgiving basket program for Laurel.
All right. I attended the D4 meeting and probably will do that more frequently. And as everyone can see, Chairman Cooley from D4 is here at our meeting. And our discussion involved either him or one of the other board members peeking in on us on a regular basis, and believe that's a great idea since they're a huge customer of ours, and we have always had a good working relationship, and we certainly want to continue that. And part of their update, I guess, was working on that training ground. It looks like there's been some long-term water damage out there, and they have a proposal. Chief Noel presented sort of a bid proposal to show what it would take to repair that, since it's one of the few facilities where companies can actually do legitimate training in Whatcom County. So we appreciate you guys upgrading, fixing, repairing that training ground. Chief's report next.
Chief's report, so you can, as I indicated on my paper report, our January incident count was 543 calls. Station 63 responded to 191. Station 69 responded to 143, and Station 61 responded to 118. Station 12, which is District 4, but still a part of our monthly call count, responded to 91 calls. Right now, admin, we are working on, or we're in the final stages of gathering applications for the finance specialist. We've received about 20 applications. We'll do an application review on this coming Wednesday. It's the applications we've received are impressive, and it's going to be a hard decision, I think. But we're gonna gather as an admin group and go through and whittle down who we'd like to interview for that position.
Are we wanting to have a board member on that interview panel?
We certainly could. Yeah.
Is anyone here interested in being on that panel?
Okay.
Everyone okay with Kimberly sitting in on that review of once they whittle down the applicants?
I'm just wondering if that's something we've done in the past.
We did. I sat in on the last one.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not sitting in on this one.
Hey, Bruce, I got a quick ask.
Sure.
Can we have the numbers for the calls of the month of January posted on the reader board at Station 69?
Yes.
So the traveling public will know?
Yep.
Thank you.
I and actually several other chiefs were all working on writing performance evaluations for. It turns out that no districts in the county are doing personnel evaluations on their people, so we're actually banding together to come up with a good, solid evaluation for administrative folks. That's kind of a working group of the county fire chiefs. As Commissioner McMurray talked about, we submitted for 2 grants this month, both the same thing. I would like to say it's a tweaked version of the same grant we keep submitting. We have lowered our expectations, and we're just asking for $145,000 worth of portable radios. So we submitted, it's called a local and community project grant to the state legislature. And so basically what that is it allows, as there's, I believe the term Commissioner Anthony uses is budget dust, created in Olympia, where they've maybe got a little bit too much, so they need something to fill in the gap. In a request, they can slide a legislator can slide something like this in, so that it can help out a local state or local agency. We also applied for a FIFA grant. This is a grant. It's in concert with the FEMA, but also the state of Washington, for agencies that would be affected by the upcoming FIFA games, which we are in kind of a direct line for that. We all saw the Taylor Swift concert fiasco here in Blaine, and we can certainly expect a repeat of that on multiple occasions as the games transfer between Seattle and Vancouver. So we're looking for a little communications help. We've talked multiple times about how we have a hard time with our almost 20-year-old radios, obsolete radios, talking to dispatch. So we're hoping that we wrote a compelling argument for the funding of the grant. As Commissioner McMurray said, the grant has been extended a little bit. They were pretty hard on the deadlines, but it looks like maybe some big agencies weren't as clear as they needed to be. So, of course, they're getting a little more time. It was asked during the grant, some of the outreach or the the grant meetings leading up to it. Will any of this money leave King County? And we got kind of a maybe yes. So we're hoping that some of it filters out to the other agencies that are affected by the games. I did put a piece in my written report about the EMS office, the new administrator of the EMS office. Things are going very well. She came to us from Western Washington University, has been an administrator in one of the departments there for a long time. And Mr. Hilly got the program off the ground, but she is definitely elevating it to the next level. And it's great to see. She's very supportive of the Chiefs. She likes to listen to what's happening on the ground as well as look at things from an administrative side. So it's definitely a breath of fresh air. And then a bulk of what I've been doing the last month has been levy lid preparation, and you'll see that during a presentation here a little bit later. We have to submit our resolution by May 1st. So technically we have 2 meetings between now and then, but I think the board needs to focus on making a decision by March so that we can fine tune all of the language and get everything set. So that we've certainly received back about confusing ballot language before. So we want to get it hammered out as good as we can so that when we submit to the county, it's that ballot measure is clear for our voters. So that concludes my report.
Did you tell me that you signed up for those trainings by Lisa White? Remember?
I have, yes. Yeah,
She has an upcoming employee evaluation seminar.
Yes.
I don't know if you were that was March 12th, I think.
I get those, yes. So I've been trying to work on my own education for me as a leader, and I've taken multiple webinars, seminars over the past month that have talked about how to deal with different employees and how to deal with different situations you might encounter with employees. This one that Commissioner Ansell's talking about, there's a series of about 12 classes throughout the year. Another avenue I've been taking is a gentleman by the name of Kurt Verone. He's a fire chief and also an attorney from the East Coast. So he's fun to watch because he's got the big old East Coast fireman's mustache. The accent's cool. He's also incredibly intelligent and does a number of seminars nationwide about everything from employee discipline to understanding the FLSA. He was really one of the first to come out with what does the new overtime rules, how does that affect FLSA, and what are some of the reporting issues that employers could get into next year. I would like to point out that this year employers were not required to break out any of that, the new overtime rules and how that affects taxes. Unfortunately, we think the fire service is big because we're in it, but it's actually a really microscopic part of the working public. So the overtime rules are written for 40-hour employees. Firefighters are not 40-hour employees, and the FLSA affects that. So I just want to give a shout out to Kelly Freeman and Jenny. We're working one short in the office, and they went through and made sure that they did all the calculations for our employees so that it was correctly on their W-2s that they received. All the work was done. It was done in accordance with the rules that were read and interpreted, as well as talking to our legal, to our attorney. And I just want to commend both of them for all the work they've done over the past 2 months. Shorthanded, it's been a lot, but yeah, they've worked really hard to make sure that our employees are getting really above and beyond in this case. it wasn't required of employers to furnish that information. It could have been left to the individuals to sort out, but Kelly created an amazing worksheet that we can, spreadsheet that we can use going forward that will do the calculations auto for us. She ended up sharing it with a couple other districts that had no clue how to do it, and it's been fun to watch, but I know it's been stressful for them. So,
Chief, in regards to the evals, I guess you said countywide?
countywide, yeah. Yep.
I don't know if pooling resources for a software application would be beneficial, but NeoGov, are you familiar with that?
NeoGov?
NEO-GOV.
Mm-hmm.
That's a widely used evaluation tool. My old agency used it, where I work now uses it. And it's kind of a very user-friendly way to generate evals, keep employee jackets. It might be something where if the county's pulling resources, it becomes affordable. I don't know the costs.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments for the chief?
Thank you.
Yep.
Just a side note, is there a order for a computer or laptop that I will be using in the
Yes, sir.
near future?
Yep, there is.
I'll give you the one I've got.
Yeah,
It's 14 years old.
mine didn't even work as a boat anchor anymore. All right. Local 106.
Yes, thank you. All right. We got a couple exciting, fun things finally coming up. March 6th, Cody Bowen, one of our employees here, and 2 other union members are getting kilted with the pipes and drums. So we're seeing a kind of a resurgence of the band coming back. March 8th is the stair climb. North Whatcom has 5 people competing, and through a lot of fundraiser, they have raised over $5,000 so far. So great showing by our members there. March 14th, we're having the firefighter ball. It's back again, open to the public. And March 17th, the Pipes and Drums will be doing a St. Patrick's Day fundraiser. So very exciting. Vice President Brown continues to work on the levy with some advertising folks, getting ready from our end. And then just a personal side note, former union member, former chief, my dad, is doing okay. So we're sticking with doing better every day. So I appreciate everybody reaching out, and hopefully we can get him home soon. We'll go from there. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to unfinished business. We have Birch Bay Station 63. And we got some preliminary numbers from Carletti. Chief Ralston is here to give us a report.
Yeah, thank you. The feasibility study that was with Carletti Architects obviously came up with the 3 options. Again, just for the public to know, the option 1 was just kind of using the existing footprint of that station and then moving the apparatus maintenance bay out and then moving the facilities back into that, and kind of, so option 1 had a detailed number for that in there, which again, these are, I know both Chief and I and Carletti wants to say this is really a draft. This is they've done a good job breaking it out, but just really draft numbers. Next month on the agenda, Carletti would like to come up and spend more time on those options and maybe have the opportunity for you to come up with your questions specifically for them to on any of the stuff. That's what we're hoping for in March for that. Option 1, again, their estimate was 5.1 million for that. Option 2, if you recall, was expanding the footprint of the very front of the building. That would be torn down, and then where the living quarters are now, expanded a little bit bigger, still leaving the apparatus bay. And then all of these options do include improvements to the apparatus bay, the structural upgrade for earthquake, a lot of different types of stuff. And that option 2 came up with about 7.5 million. And then option 3 was a tear down and a rebuild And that was roughly 10 million for that. So those are some numbers that ideally what we were looking at trying to do is provide the commissioners with an idea of if we were to pick one of those options, how the money to fund that, whether we got a local loan, a 20-year loan, and how much those payments would be, that we can then put into a budget to understand what it would be that we could then use that for the levy lid lift to kind of figure out a payment schedule for that. So that was what the idea behind this is. And in fact, and I know with Chief and everyone else, we want to get something done, but we got to know what those potentials could be and also the planning for funding for that would be too. So again, I'll let Chief add anything more into that if I haven't covered that.
Within those
Master-
proposals, does any of that include the temporary housing of the crews during construction?
A good question. No, it does not. And again, these numbers in here too didn't include any, I think, of the architectural design. These numbers are very draft.
Right.
But still, no, they do not include anything. We would have to come up with whatever we're going to do to either relocate the crews either on site or a different spot or something when that comes. Once the decision is made on a direction to go, then we would start that process up.
Would it be possible to continue to use the apparatus bays if we were to move a modular home in there on a temporary basis? I know that they've got to do some work on those bays, but would this-
Probably, I would say maybe up to a certain point, but probably not. There would probably have to be done. That'd be a great question for the architects to ask for that. I don't know that we've actually specifically asked that, but a lot of that was outside type of structural improvements, but yeah, it's a good question.
A few years back when we first started going down this path, there was a lot of talk about environmental impact and whether or not we were able to, per code, to expand on the property based on drainage. Has that come up at all?
We've had one of the subcontractors is involved with that. Tony Freeland Associates that does the civil work and all that is involved with that. So I know given a new construction, I think that would have some impacts of it, but it sounded like it could be done. We don't know all the details of that at this point, but that is the proposal to use the existing site. And so there would have to be improvements done with storm and all of that. But apparently it does sound like that could be done, at least at this point, very preliminary.
It had to do something, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, with the footprint size, expanding the footprint of the facility.
Correct.
It was 10,000 square feet.
It has to do with pervious surface around and what on the lot, how much impervious surface do we have? And that's why Mr. Freeland was part of when we initially did the walkthrough. He was brought in and he gave it he didn't say what it would cost to proceed, but he said we could proceed.
Tentative thumbs up.
Right.
And then all of this includes the complete tear down of the fire tower that's
Correct.
shut off.
Yep.
and Hazard. Okay. And they're all quasi-future proof, correct? It plans to expand, accommodating a certain amount of people. 5-10 years from now, it's all built into the program.
Yes, the capacity for personnel is higher. It's 7, so we could staff it with additional crews if we needed to, as well as has kitchen and bathroom facilities for that number of people. So
Excellent. Thank you.
I believe I remember them talking about if we were to do a complete tear down, that it would involve much more permitting and.
Yeah, you have to leave a
but-
certain number of walls up to mitigate the permits.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to say that the square footage was 10,000 was
I think roughly that was it. Yep.
was the cutoff. And if we did I don't know, did it say what the square footage was on
Option 3
2?
or option? It did, yeah, it did, the top of my head, it was
was under 10,000 though.
Yes, it was.
So that was, even though I think the existing is 5,000-ish.
Something like that, yeah.
The current square footage is roughly 5,000, or is
I
it?
think it was a little bit more, a little over 6,000. I think it was in the 6,000 range. I'd have to know that right now.
Anyway, if we punched it out, it would still be under that 10,000, which then triggers all these permitting questions and issues.
Okay.
I didn't, other than that, the complete tear down was kind of like, yeah, you might get stuck there, but up to that point, I think it looked like we wouldn't run into the issues. So next, sorry, this, because we're gonna now be talking and what a payment on something like this would be, right? I mean, we have to do something with this station. It's really not very credible. And so we need to know how much does it cost to make the payment on this. Bonding something like this, in my opinion, isn't feasible because we can't get 51%. So a bond requires 60 plus 1. And I just don't see that happening. So it's basically take out a loan and make the payment and rolling it into our annual budget payment. So having these numbers hopefully are rolled into the new levy proposal. So thank you, and Carletti will be here, or a representative.
Yep.
At our next meeting to answer more detailed questions. John, anything from you?
No, not at this time, thanks.
All right, anyone else? Questions, comments? All right, Chief, we're on to the levy lidlet. Let me start by saying I really appreciate the amount of material that you have forwarded to us and the quality of that work and presentation. I know it's been a lot of time and effort on your part, but hopefully the board got to look at it and digest it to some degree. And then we can push this out to other folks in the community that may want to see what it looks like numbers wise, because you have broken it down into staffing costs and apparatus replacement and station financing, total costs, et cetera, line by line. So I believe you have two options for us.
I do. And before I start, Commissioner Crawford, you're not going to make it through this. So if you would please, on your spare time, with all your spare time, maybe you and I can hook up and I'll go through this presentation again for you.
Okay.
Thank you. So I have, let me share my screen real quick so that Commissioner Crawford can see what Commissioner Cooley can see what I'm.
If this is this one of the files that you sent out earlier this week? Because I have those.
This is separate. This is something different. So, yeah.
Oh, PowerPoint.
Okay. Is everybody seeing the slide there?
Yes.
Oh. Let me
keep that full screen on this TV.
Yes. All right. So in looking at what we need to do, what the board, what we as staff has brought to the board with our challenges over the next 6 years, and what the board has given us as marching orders for wanting to see all the things, went back and looked at what are our threats, what are our challenges, and what are our opportunities. So this is just my recommendation. I'll take responsibility for my recommendation. It's up to the board to make decision of what this levy rate would be. You are the elected officials. So what I've got here is 11 slides to kind of go through, I guess, my decision-making process, and then I can dive deeper into nerdy spreadsheets and all kinds of stuff if you want to. You've also, commissioners have got a color copy of the $10 and $20 option, and breaks down what that effect looks like for the district. And in this PowerPoint, I do have how it will affect our taxpayers. So this is not just an internal look. It also, I was cognizant of the fact that we're asking people to look at raising their taxes. One thing before I get started is that this levy rate, both of them, are based on the levy rate that you see here, so either $1.10 or $1.20, with a 3% limit factor. So that gives the board the ability to, each year, you have to vote on the levy rate for the amount of the budget for the next year and the limit factor. So as you're aware, right now you're limited to 1%. If the voters approve, as I recommend this levy, up to 3%, you as an elected official can either retain the 3% a year, or if the economy is not doing it as well, you can dial that down. You can dial it all the way to 0 if you want to. Like I said, we're currently limited to 1%. I would remind you, the 1% is how we got here. Unfortunately, so the limiting us to 1% growth per year is what got us into the position we're in. So, it's been 19 years since we've had a renewed levy. We're facing a funding shortage. We've been talking about it ad nauseum for a few years now. That's threatening response times, the health and safety of our apparatus, and as well as staffing levels. We're all aware, service and staffing levels. We have a number of retirements coming up in the next few years. And if we don't pass this levy, I don't see a way for us to be able to hire for those vacancies. And that's going to affect the service level in the district. So I'm proposing two options. One is $1.10. It's a lower rate and it's lower revenue. The $1.20 rate is higher, and it strengthens our reserves and gives us more of a contingency fund should things go awry, like heaters. Any of these obviously require voter approval. This levy would last for 6 years. What I'm doing now, this levy is part of a longer range plan. So what I've distributed to you in the past month is an apparatus replacement plan, an ambulance replacement plan. Now we've got the levy. What I'm working towards is a 10-year strategic plan, so that you have the confidence and the public has the confidence that even though I may retire, Chief Malilo ascends to the throne, we've got a plan in place so that he can continue moving the district forward. This plan does take into account, or does call for, the staffing of Station 62 in Semiahmoo on Semiahmoo Parkway. That is the first step this district needs to take towards providing better service for all of our citizens, especially those east of I-5. So revenue projections are always a little dicey. So I do not expect AV to do what it's, I'm a homeowner. I feel it the same as any taxpayer. I am not expecting AVs to assess valuations to continue on the upward trend that it has over the past 6 years. So I tried to budget revenue conservatively in hopes that that's what actually happens. I said I'd never do this again, but this levy includes all costs. This is like going on a cruise. It's an all-inclusive package. It pays for staffing, apparatus, ambulances, and Station 63, as well as the staffing of Station 62 in Semiahmoo. So we, in the past, that we felt like that kind of bit us, but here we are. What revenue is generated over the levy term, the 6-year levy term? You can see that here on this slide. The bar graph on the bottom shows how much is just the slight difference in revenue, in surplus revenue, which is a term I don't like, but it's a government word. So basically savings that would happen each year. These are our contingency funds.
Chief, is
Yes.
that based on us taking the full 3% every year?
Yes, that is, all these calculations are based on the 3%, just as like a cost of living, right? It's just.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
Is there a way to break out what 1%, 2%, 3%, not right now, but for
Yes.
us in the consideration, what those numbers
Yep.
look like? Because I think that will be important.
Okay.
Thank you.
So over our talking, reviewing the minutes, we've really got four things we need to do. We need to expand staffing. We've got to add capacity to the system. We have not added any operational units, with the exception of a single unit battalion chief in 20 years. The area has grown. The call volume has grown. It's up. Our call volume is up over 100% in those 20 years. So the crews are dealing with more and more calls. As we know, we have a robust auto aid agreement with all districts in the county. But because we have a northern border and then the other border is the water, there's two corners we don't get any help from. And it turns out that this northwest corner here, Blaine, Birch Bay, Semiahmoo, is our busiest area. It's our most population dense area. It's where calls for service come in. Oftentimes, units are coming from further away to answer calls. They're coming from Ferndale, they're coming from Linden, they're coming from Laurel to answer calls because the units here are handling other calls already. So we need to expand staffing. The logical place to do that is Station 62. We've got a facility, needs a little bit of work, but we've got a facility. And that area, when you look at if you look at heat maps of calls, that area needs to be served. It's a logical spot for the next station. We need to replace our ambulances. We have worked really hard at keeping our apparatus up and running. We have always paid for apparatus with cash in the past. Those days are gone. The cost of apparatus has just skyrocketed over the past 6 years. They've literally almost increased 50%. It's just nuts. In this levy, we can fund our ambulances with cash, for lack of a better word. The levy funds will pay for ambulances. In my ambulance replacement plan, I'm recommending ambulances for us to maintain them, keep them for 10 years, 5 years in frontline service, 5 years in reserve, and then we surplus them and move them along. With our constant transports to St. Joseph's Hospital, we're putting miles and hours on these things. 5 years in frontline service that's good enough. That's about all we can get out of these things. So,
I mean, just just for the public to understand that, we're talking 200,000 miles.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So, you know, I don't know how many people own vehicles with 200,000 miles on them, but still, but that's what we run to take you to the hospital. So that might be worth pointing out.
The next piece would be fire apparatus debt service. In my fire apparatus replacement plan that I sent out to the board, calling for $4.1 million worth of apparatus replacement. What this does is it hits the reset button. We've got a myriad of apparatus, which most of them are past their replacement time, is the best way to put it. 3 of our engines right now are within 3 years of needing to be replaced. If we staff Station 62, we'll need to add an additional apparatus, additional fire engine. This plan calls for that. I will show you a spreadsheet after I'm done with this that shows it's a visual idea of where our apparatus are and what needs to be replaced. I'm recommending replacing all but one tender because they're all over 30 years old, which is 10 years past industry standard for when they should be replaced. I'm recommending the replacement of 4 engines, which would leave our newest 2 as reserves. You've got to have a backup when something goes in for maintenance. I'm also recommending replacement of, and it's just time anyway, as it's hit its lifetime, our ladder truck. So this is a complete fleet replacement. It also, that plan has recommendations for fire apparatus to be in frontline service for 10 years, and then it goes to 10 years of reserve status, and then it's surplused, so that we don't get into this hole where we're holding on to 30-year apparatus, and now we're looking at a complete fleet replacement. One thing you'll notice on that spreadsheet, that again I'll show you later, is it marches out over the next 10 years. So it's got what something costs today, and each year we delay in replacing, it marches out that cost. So, and then the last piece is the financing of the replacement of Station 63. The spreadsheet you have before you, you can see option 1, 2, or 3. Basically what I did is went ahead and created a repayment schedule based on the latest local program interest rate, and that's what that replacement is going to cost. Station 63 is obviously the biggest and most expensive variable in this. A lot of it comes down to what are we going to do with Station 63? What option are we going to pick? It's unfortunate that we couldn't get Carletti. Timeline's just off by 1 month. I would really love to have their presentation today so that we could make a really solid decision. It is good that we do have the March and April meeting where we could continue to discuss the levy rate, and we'll have more information on Station 63 next month. But it is a huge decision, and it's got to be made. We're at that point. So we can't. I don't believe we can, as Commissioner Ansel said. I think trying to bond the station out would be a fool's errand. We're just wasting money on an election. So this slide goes over the reserves, and that's really what as this slide says, both the levy rates are solvent. The big thing we're looking at is $1.10 versus $1.20 is how much of a contingency fund do we feel like we need to have, or do we want to have? We're only replacing one station. This station is 26 years old. Station 69, I don't even know. It was built in the 80s. late 80s, early 90s with an addition. So there is some risk in maintaining older buildings, and we're not Bellevue, we're not Redmond. We can't update all our facilities all at once, and I understand that. But we do have some older facilities that we've still got HVAC and all the things that go into a home that we're going to have to maintain over the years that reach end of life. So this slide represents what our risk is based on the levy rate.
Hey, Chief.
Yes,
In your view, would you mind shrinking that set of screens?
Fortunately, I can't.
Or, there you go.
Better? Sorry. Yeah.
So,
What, for the remodel, have we been given an estimated lifespan of a new building or a remodeled facility?
I have not heard.
No, not with a new facility versus a remodel. Oh, that'd be a good question to find out from the architects too. I would hope that we typically build new stations for 50 years, but the remodel portions of it, I don't know. That hasn't been specifically asked.
Google tells me everybody loves bar graphs. I don't like them that much, but this is a bar graph. Again, it shows the. I just so the public knows, I don't like the word surplus. It's not fair. It's your tax money. I understand that, but it's the government speak. It's the word that government uses for reserves. So this just shows again the variables. This discussion is mostly about reserves and how thin do we want our margin to be. And these are really our risk factors. Things that could affect the levy rate going forward. There's continued growth or lack of growth as the economy goes. Maybe building stops, new construction stops. That's a threat to the life of the levy. Ambulance costs because we're paying cash. We've done our best to estimate what the cost increases for ambulances will be over the years, but there's no way to know what that will. I think if you would have asked in 2020 what apparatus would cost in 2026, any reasonable fire chief would have been way off. It's not trending. Staffing costs, there's always an unknown there. Our union, our labor group has been wonderful to work with, and but they don't control the market rate. They don't control the economy. We just don't know what will happen with that. So that's a concern. And then there's always the variable of construction costs, and that is a big unknown when it comes to Station 63 project. So we have to keep those factors in kind of in mind as we work forward. So this is the big one that every people over there in the gallery would certainly like to see. This is the cost difference between what we're currently at, what a $1.10 rate would be, and what a $1.20 rate would be at 5 different home valuations. It is an increase. It is a tax increase, absolutely. I would point out to anybody that to look at our comparables. Look at what districts around us are paying in their levy rate. This is exactly the same. A $1.20 levy rate is what Fire District 7 just approved. This is a little different, being that they approved a 6% limit factor. We're only asking for a 3%. And it's interesting when I say District 7 just passed a $1.20 levy rate. if you've watched local news or local social media over the past 2 weeks, you see that their admin has moved out of Station 41 so that they can staff Station 41 right in their downtown core full time with crews. They asked their voters for more. Their voters approved more, and they're giving them a higher. They're going to be getting a higher level of service here in the next 6 months. That's the same path we need to follow in the Semiahmoo neighborhood for multiple reasons. The biggest one is obviously responding to critical calls in a timely manner. But it doesn't go. I can't not point out that also we've got a lot of homeowners that are feeling the pinch of crazy insurance rates and what that's doing to them. And this would certainly affect that in the positive once that station were to be up and manned. So, but as always, we want to consider what is the impact of the taxpayer, and that's what this slide represents. So my recommendation as the fire chief is to bring the $1.20 rate with a 3% limit factor to the voters. As I said, no scenario runs the deficit, but the $1.20 rate provides 6.3 million more in reserves. So that's 1 million per year. The life of a levy is 6 years. Let me go through these first. Staffing costs are always the biggest variable. Stronger reserves allows us to ride out that labor market. It is paying for 2 ambulances in 2031 does cost more, and the $1.10 rate offers a smaller cushion. The difference between $1.10 and $1.20 is $4.17 per month on a $500,000 home. So even on a home assessed at $1 million, it's less than $10 a month. I feel like that's defensible. When asked why did we pick the higher rate, it puts the district in a better position to ride out uncertainty. And this does, the $1.20 rate gives the flexibility to the board to be able to do things, unforeseen circumstances or challenges we face during the levy period, and still be able to complete the project to Station 63. So, what do we do next? After this, I assume there'll be a robust discussion, probably I'm sure you have further questions. We need to make the decision board needs to make the decision on Station 63. We'll have all that information next month. Then you need to choose the levy rate and move that forward. Then staff will go into preparing the ballot measure, and we'll begin the public outreach, which I am encouraged by audience participation, people coming and watching what's going on here. I think that's good, so that they can talk to their friends and neighbors and ask the board or ask me some of those hard questions about why are we doing this. I would like to say, there's no slide in here about this, but one thing we definitely need to discuss during the outreach portion of whatever levy rate you decide to put on the ballot. We're asking for a big makeup from 77 cents to either $1.10 or $1.20. I recognize that. What needs to happen going forward is that we need to ask our voters. We need to not go 19 years. And I know this group has not gone 19 years, but the district went 15 years without talking to the voters. And that can't happen. That's how we got in this situation. I'll show you on my Excel spreadsheet what the levy rate will do based on what I anticipate the economy to do, although that's really anybody's guess. But the levy rate will drop again during this 6-year period. But for the district to be able to make the next move, like I said, staffing a station east of here, I'm going to guess it needs to be somewhere around the Birch Bay Linden Road Enterprise area, kind of the what commonly referred to as Delta. area, that's how we're going to be able to do that, is by smaller, more predictable, responsible renewals of our levy rate. So let me pull up.
You want this to stay on, Chief?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Chief, while you're pulling that up, one of the concerns that I have, just from the numbers standpoint, is I'm left questioning, can you accomplish your goals at $1.20 with 0% increase each year? Because you have technically, what, 18% built in for increases? Is that accurate over 6 years? If we went 3%?
Correct.
So what does that look like if, at the end of year one, we're looking at a budgeting cycle that's not projecting any major increases in expenses, and we say, okay, we're not going to do 3%. We believe like an adjustment this year of 1.5 is appropriate. So where will your goal set in X amount of years if we're not maintaining that 3% annual bump?
I firmly believe if we do a 0 or 1, we're going to find ourselves right back in the spot we're in right now. I think that we've had this, the state has had this experiment going since 2020. All these junior taxing districts, all these small taxing districts are facing the same challenges. We saw it with the library. We're seeing it, I assume, sorry, since 2000s. Thank you. So yeah, we're all facing this. I understand the impetus behind the 1%. I think it pulled it back a little too far now that I'm dealing with it as an administrator. We've got to be able to grow with the cost. We have to have cost of living increases as
1% can't keep up with the cost of living, but it's just that thought in my mind of the what if, and then to me it's very important that message is very clear, that that's built into this.
Yep.
I don't know how to convey that, because we're asking for the $1.20 or $1.10, but we're also asking, based on projections, potential for significantly more than that.
Right. Correct. And let me.
But at the end of the 6 years, the dollar amount that we're showing people on a 500,000 home is actually potentially another 18% above that. I can
Okay.
almost see something there.
Zoom in.
And I'm not arguing about the
I know.
necessity of
Yeah.
it. I'm just saying there's a transparency issue here.
Absolutely. So this spreadsheet here, what it shows is this is our AV in 2026, this $9.5 billion. Excuse me. This is a spreadsheet that I sent to you. Any of these numbers in blue we can mess with. You can change them. So the AV growth rate over the past, you look at the last 6 years, it's been like 13, 25, like crazy numbers, right? So I set it at 5. Super conservative would be 2%. But looking at stuff from Western Washington University, what other counties are doing, 5% seems like a reasonable expectation that the AV will continue to grow at that rate. The levy limit factor, you can change it. So if we want to change this to, if we want to look and see what it does at 1, okay, here, the district still would maintain, our budget will still be, we will still get the 1%. if you choose to pass that on. We could do 0%. We'll still get our money for the 6 years. It does, you can see what it does to, this is what the voter would pay. This is what our levy rate would be. It further compresses that down. So what this model shows us is that a $1.20 levy rate that's approved in 2026, the homeowner would pay $1.20 per thousand in 2027, and at 3% they would pay $1.09. Their levy would drop to $1.09.
And
So
that's capped at a 5% annual growth rate.
that's at the AV growing at 5%. If we can change that, go super conservative, change that to 2%. And you can see that the levy rate actually increases. This is the mystery of levy compression. When the voter approves a levy rate, they're also approving the budget for the next year. That's the amount of dollars that the district can bring in. So the district still receives the money that the voters have approved through the 6-year levy rate. If, say, the AV goes down, or the growth is very slow in the assessed valuation, you dial the limit factor back to 0, and you can see how the levy rate, it drops.
It compresses by the few percents that you're not making up.
It does. We change it to 1, and it's a little more stable, right?
I see how the numbers work.
So but what we don't want to do, and I say this now with 5-6 years of experience under my belt, is get into this. We've got to communicate to the taxpayers what it actually costs to run this business, for lack of a better word. We've not been very good about doing that. I will say, we have been, in the last 5 years, really good about doing that. We just haven't made our argument compelling enough to get enough voters to support us. I'm hoping that the focus on the staffing of Station 62 will help get us over the edge. Will help get us, we'll be able to get enough voters to understand that there's a demand on the service that we've got to expand. We've got to expand what we've got on the floor, what we've got responding to calls. So I don't know if I answered your question or made it more muddy.
No, I actually, the adjustable numbers there help me understand what I'm looking for, actually. Thank
So
you.
it's all in, again, it's really, each levy rate will pay for what we need. It's the associated risk behind it, whether it's $1.10 or $1.20. And then again, you have that variable as an elected official to look at 0 versus 3% each year.
But that's the largest variable right now.
That is your only variable.
Well, I mean, the AV growth rate is out there. I mean, there are
Yep.
things that are variables that are unpredictable.
Correct.
But the one that has, well, unless the assessors go crazy and just do something bizarre, the one that will have the most impact in 6 years is going to be what the commissioner board decides to do with 3% each year.
Correct. And based on this projection, what in 6 years, I would recommend going back to the voters for a 10-cent levy increase or an 11-cent levy increase. Renewal, not an increase, a renewal back to $1.20. That would allow the district to continue moving forward with like I said, service expansion to the east.
When were we at $1.20 last?
Were we?
Was there a point where we were?
Yeah, because we started at $1.40 something, $1.44 back in
Was I born yet?
2006 or something.
Sure as that. Was I born yet?
So for everybody, are you, no, you're not seeing that. Sorry. Are you seeing the tax book
Yeah.
piece? Okay. So this is kind of a cool resource that's on the county's website. It allows you to go back and look at really any tax, anything taxing in Whatcom County, from Parks and Rec to water systems to fire districts. I'm gonna make a guess here. Sorry, I think my computer is thinking.
You better give that one to Bruce and you get the.
Right. Okay, so here is 2018. And I'm looking at this number right here. So we're at $1.38. So what that tells me is that the AV has gone up significantly, which I think any of us that receive a tax assessment know that our AVs have gone up. Come on, computer. So we were at $1.14 in 2021.
Then it went down to $1.02.
And then it went from $1.14 to $1.02 in 2022.
So what this means is I've owned my house for 6 or 7 years. The amount of money I pay the fire district is essentially the same. I mean, within $3 or $4.
Correct.
So the fire districts and I are similar in a lot of ways. We both pay what the cost of water is, gas, the people that work for us. And believe me, all those costs haven't changed, haven't remained the same for 6 years. Believe me, my SRA dues has gone up a lot more than a couple dollars a year. A round of golf costs more, the trash costs more. That's why the fire district and I are a lot alike. I imagine the fire district would be in pretty good shape if all their costs had remained the same.
Yeah.
For the last 6 years. So as part of this process, well, I have several other observations later about the whole 110, 120 versus, so I'll wait till we get to that. But on the specific rates, doesn't matter if you own a $500,000 home or $1 million home, you're paying about the same for the last 6 years. And I think that's the great point that the Successful Library Campaign pointed out to folks about cost of everything's going up. There's no free lunches And, well, we don't really focus on it yet. But if I wasn't a board member and I was sitting in the audience, I'd say, well, tell me what the heck happens if we don't get a levy approved? What happens? Well, there's only two things that can happen. Either de-staff apparatus or you down-staff apparatus. There's no other alternative. So I know that some folks take exception to that kind of language, that somehow we're trying to scare the residents or the people we serve. But I'd rather give them the facts up front than be in a position running into in the grocery store 6 months from now when it doesn't pass, or a year and a half from now when we de-staff an engine or down-staff. That means from going from 3 to 2, down-staff. Run into them at the grocery store and they say, why in the heck did you tell me this was going to happen? So somehow in this positivity that we're going through in this levy list, there needs to be a reality check. Well, we've looked behind the curtain and we know what's there and how best to explain that to folks. It will be a challenge. It will be a challenge.
Yes. We've got to, currently, Fire District 21 currently has 3 staff stations. We're responsible, we as a fire district are responsible for providing a safe environment for our firefighters to reside in 24/7, 365 to respond from calls. If the levy doesn't pass, we still have that same responsibility. So considerations like Station 63 we're going to have to do something with that structure, as well as how are we going to continue to fill vacancies when we may not have, we have all these retirements coming up, and if we can't afford to fill the vacancies and we have to pay for Station 63 on the funding we're getting now, we have to provide a clean, safe station. So Station 63 gets, there'll be some fix to Station 63, and then we'll be able to staff with what we have. But I don't know if it looks like if the services that are cut are, maybe we don't provide BLS transport anymore. We just tell the county that we can't do that. We can respond to calls, but as far as getting someone to the hospital, that's not a service we can provide anymore.
My perspective on that is not supplying the transport. I don't really think about that as it's going to save us money. What I think about is if we have to go through we have to reduce staffing on the apparatus. We can't transport because there won't be anybody here left to help us. We're going to be an ambulance company that also happens to do other things when we're available. So several broader observations. One, not being an expert on the legislative background, essentially in Washington, what the law has said is you fire districts, we'll trust you up to 1% a year to tax your folks. If you need more, ask them. But we'll give you from 0 to 1%. We trust you to 1. Now, in the levy lift, they've left us this mechanism in this levy list as proposed. we're gonna ask the voters, okay, trust us from 1% to 3%. And every year, when we do our budgets, we're not gonna automatically rubber stamp 3%. Every year, it's gonna be left us to be able to explain to the voters, all 2 of them, if we need the reserves, again, to me, it's almost reserves. If we want the reserves at the end of the year to be X number of dollars, we need to increase the levy to 2.1 or 1.8. Or we're gonna need 2 ambulances this year. And so this year we need it to be 2.4. So when we put a levy lift up there of $1.20, all we're doing is asking the residents, trust us and give us the authority from 1 to 3%. The state gave us the 1, give us the 3. Now, I can't even imagine how Ferndale got 6. Heck, I probably wouldn't have voted for 6 because I don't trust people like us that much. So it puts a lot of responsibility. It's easier to be poor than to be rich. From the standpoint of, I sold a house and now my wife wants all new windows in the house. Jeez, I've lost ground in this stuff. So anyway, it really allows us as a board to set priorities, be able to justify priorities. Station C, I'm a big supporter of what you recommend. Absolutely. But at the same time, I'm telling you, every year when you show up here, you better have your good game on, because I'm not automatically going to 3%. And you're right, I don't like the word surplus. So I think that as a board, we have to really appreciate the fact that each year it's put back on us. I do have one question though. Yes. Not understanding some of this real well. So year number 1, we do 3%. Year number 2, we do 2%. In year number 3, what's the base that the percentage is applied against?
The law that gives the ability for junior taxing districts to have limit factors. When you take 2%, you do you bank that additional percent. So it's not lost forever. So you could.
So I could do in year 3, 4%?
You could, yes. The county just went through this exercise actually, as far as the EMS levy goes. You can do an additional percent if you've banked one from before. It requires a public hearing and, similar to setting the levy rate. You can do it. So yes.
So the importance of the strategic plan is we would have to go through a process of saying, this is the proof level that we feel the equipment reserve should have in it, or the general reserve should be, and based on what we want that to be, and maybe that we want it to be $4 million. Don't have any clue if there's numbers, but picking a number, $4 million, okay? Well, to get to that $4 million, that we've done all the strategic planning and figured this all out, we need to be at 1.3, and we're not gonna get to 4 million, you're only gonna get to 3 million. We're not gonna do it all in one bite. So, just tell you that when all of a sudden, we got it made now, we go, hey, the government did it to us, 1%. 1 to 3 now is gonna be us. And we have to run the business that way. And so you just, the 3%'s not an automatic to me. Every year, it's gonna be a tug of war.
Well, and maybe this builds confidence, but Fire District 4 has a limit factor in their levy. And in the first year of the limit, or the first year of the levy, actually 2 years of the levy, first 2 years of the levy, I did not recommend taking the 3%.
I knew I liked those guys.
So yeah, we did not take, and we did bank the capacity, and we haven't used the bank capacity because there's not been a need for it. The 3% has given them they took 2% and then they took a 3%.
Let me explain one more thing that's behind the curtain. If the levy doesn't pass, Station 63 is in deep trouble. Because who's gonna lend you money? You already said you're not gonna get a bond. So we wanna borrow money now for 63, and they send some junior MBA guy or gal out here to go through the books, and they go, well, no, you can't even pay your own people. Okay, we'll lend you money, but how do we get that preferred stock? So we get paid before all the rest of the debtors. So I think there's great challenges to the 63 if the levy doesn't pass, just because of the world of borrowing money. The interest rates are gonna go up. A yield, the remainder money.
The fire district does have some reserves now, and my recommendation, if the levy doesn't pass, is going to be mobile home somewhere parked in front of state in the parking lot. Use reserves to pay for that, and we're going to live hand to mouth from then on. That's what we have to do.
I'm interested on I'm claiming back. I'm interested in the temporary living arrangements. First of all, in my mind, it has to be in the same general area as 63. It can't be at a 62. There's just not enough room. And the call distribution is 62 can't handle virtually. So in option 1, 2, and 3, or actually option 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 4 is we don't have money to do anything. We ought to be moving ahead with figuring out living accommodation on the existing site. So I don't know who does that, but when it comes time for a modular home to get them out of that barracks, that to me, it runs ahead of the 63 discussion on option 1, 2, or 3, because in all three of those options, people need to be someplace else. And the sooner the better. And that money's got to be spent. And again, it's not in any of these numbers we've seen so far. Now, I know we talked the other day about the challenges of trying to figure out how to do that. And the fact that somebody's going to have to coordinate how that works together. If it's not Carletti, we're going to have to hire a project manager just to see all that permitting and all that stuff through.
Right.
That can't be, oh, by the way, Tony, on your spare time, reinvent the wheel and make sure I get the spare. So I'm going to continue to be interested in seeing how we're moving forward with making arrangements for the troops.
We do have some of those numbers because we started looking at that a couple years ago.
We have some, yeah.
Chief Ralston, is Carletti, would they be someone that would be able to propose, I mean, my thought to put something on that site that doesn't interfere would be to take out the training containers. Pave that back corner and stick a 5-bedroom mobile home in there.
I'm sure that would be within their scope of work that they could do. That would be another good question to ask them. But yes, I'm sure that can be.
Is the board okay with maybe asking you to ask them now to talk about that? Or at least warn them that that's gonna be something that we're gonna be asking?
Some of our preliminary discussions, we didn't directly act it, but they did talk about their interest in making that happen and how to do that. I know working with another project with another district, they're involved with that option too. So they've offered that. So, so yes,
Would you be so kind as
no problem.
to put a bug in their ear that that's gonna be something we're gonna be significantly interested in? I mean, even if this levy doesn't pass, I'm inclined to do it anyway. And
You
just
have to.
tear the front of that place off and put a blue tarp on it and say, this is what you voted for.
No. Yeah, I'll go ahead and contact them and have them be ready for some discussion about that for our March meeting.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure we have enough time to allow our public comment.
Yep, we do. All right, so so we have a couple options in front of us. I too am concerned about the saleability of saying we want this amount so that we can have this much reserves. And I don't know how you package that. Because I don't like surplus either. I think we do need a certain amount of reserves, but maybe we need to adjust this to say, hey, look, Station 69 is gonna fall down next, and it might fall down in the next 5 years. So this is how much it's gonna cost to keep it from falling down. Delta, maybe we can move on that sooner and get the people east of I-5 to buy into, we're gonna have a unit at least maybe partially staffed. I mean, if you look at that map, and I think it was in
It's in the ops report.
where all the calls are. There's a big void right around Delta that we can't get to within a reasonable response time. I mean, I would be more inclined, thinking as maybe a potential voter out east, why am I spending extra money to staff Simeon? Who cares, right? I mean, that doesn't help me. Why, yeah, there it is. There's the map.
It's
The reason it helps them is because that heavy blue stripe along the coast, if the service level declines, some board members might go, this isn't working out. I need to figure out how that blue stretch can become its own entity. And I have no idea the mechanisms that could happen, or go to the city fathers and mothers in Blaine and say, hey, we need to have a city fire department. How can we break away from this district? Something's got to change. That's why we need to do something on the east, but we need to address the current biggest deficit, and that's that Station 62 issue. Because in the chief's report, you talked about Station 61. They averaged 6 or 7 calls a day last month. and 63, I think, was 5 or 6. That means 6 or 7 times a day, 61 isn't available to help me. And 70% of the calls or something like that, it could very well end up in a transport. I don't know the percentage of transport.
It's roughly 75%.
So I get depressed every time I come here. I'm glad I'm still a young man, only 76. I get depressed.
The best,
Public comment, please. I need to be cheered up.
All right, well, we'll come back to this. We're not totally done, but yes, before you guys like run out of here screaming or
Go right ahead, go right ahead.
whatever, I'm curious to hear if we did or did not cover everything that you came here to hear about.
Does that mean I get to ask a question?
Potentially, sure.
Are we still looking at August as the date that we're going to bring this, whatever the decision is, to the voters?
Yes.
Good. Okay, good. That that makes me feel good. I would say in terms of a public comment, there's one other thing behind the curtain that goes through my mind, and that is retention of our first responders. You know, I'm thinking of these guys. If they can do the same job in Ferndale, okay, with better equipment, better facilities, why would they not go to Ferndale or Bellingham? So I think we owe it to our first responders as voters to have their backs the way they always have ours, okay? That's a message that a citizen can say, okay, that you guys can't say. And so when, in terms of giving hope, Commissioner Anthony, since the January 5th public comment section, our public section that you had here, there has been considerable citizen support and growth and networking. So Kathy Stoffer and I have met about how do we approach the folks east of I-5? How do we help them? And then also our SRA Safety and Security Committee, or Safety and Environmental Committee, excuse me now, is already met about this after the January meeting. We've invited Scott Brown to our next meeting next week to address levy lid lift. We have engaged the Birch Bay Village Safety and Security Committee. I met with the president on Monday, and they're willing to be involved, willing to have you guys come to their meetings, the union folks come to their meetings. We're willing to be engaged with whatever public relations firm you have. So you're at a point now where you have enough citizen reach. You said that, Chief, you said that perhaps your message in the past wasn't compelling enough. It was compelling enough. You just didn't have the reach. That's all. Because the way that you were handcuffed and the way that you communicated that compelling message. So what I'm saying is now you've got a team of people around you, citizens around you, that are willing to help get that message out. And then also, I forgot about Birch Bay, there's also a connection now between those that aren't in Birch Bay Village and those that are. So getting those people connected so that the message goes beyond the village to the entire Birch Bay community. So your citizens are thinking about how do we help you get the reach that you need. And so I just encourage you, I applaud your recommendation of $1.20 and 3%. We can communicate that. in ways that you can't. You know, like they always have our backs. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our turn to step up to the plate and have theirs. That's the kind of message that we can send. So that's all.
Sir.
Yes, I'm David Sherman. I'm Chair of the Birch Bay Village Safety and Security Committee. We have 1,129 residential lots. First, thanks for the chance to briefly address the commissioners here. Secondly, many thanks to Chief Vanderveen and your staff of first responders. In our village in the last year alone, lives have been saved, injured and ailing people have been transported.
Fires have been put out.
Residential property, structure fires have been contained. We very much appreciate the resource. We're keenly aware of the acronym UGA, Urban Growth Area. We know what it means on the entire Birch Point Peninsula and Birch Bay Census Region area. Increased population without better resources and facilities from first responders is a recipe for disaster 5-10 years from now. So anything that our village can do to help amplify the message, as Delia says, we're standing by to communicate things to our entire community once we have those information nuggets that are sort of 6th grade level explanation of why this benefits you, the citizen. And Birch Bay Village is, well, Birch Bay Census Region is 10,200 persons, and we're a significant percentage of that. So standing by to help communicate the message. Thank you.
We go to the village almost 300 times a year.
I know.
Or Ferndale goes, or
I know.
someone else.
And at least 80% of those are life safety and medical issues for human response and transport, not for structure fire or a cat up a tree or whatever.
Thank you for being here.
You
I
bet.
appreciate your comments. All right, rest of the board, we have a lot of information in front of us. Do you have any needs, comments, requests between now and our next meeting for the chief to work on that you would like to see?
I have a lot to process.
Okay?
Bruce, I would like to rescind my previous request because Chief showed me how to manipulate the numbers there that I need. So I don't need you to draw up anything for 1 or 2 or 3%.
Oh, okay. All right.
I have one question for you after. All right, so we've got $1.10, $1.20 to consider. We can play with the models a little bit. I'd like to know when the $1.20 was. It was pre-2021. I mean, if the language that we use, I think, is important. You know, restoring the levy, I think at least knowing that the last time we were even at $1.20 was before 2021. That's 5 years ago. It might be 6 or 7 years ago we were at $1.20. You know, it's been over 20 years since we've asked or had any changes, support from the community. I like the message of, we've been there for you, now would you please be there for us? It's frustrating as a commissioner for me to say that you elected me to determine what we need to run this fire district, but I can't set the budget. I have to ask the citizens who are all struggling to pay their bills and everything else. But me personally, with my assessed value and everything, I tell this story to everyone that'll listen. In the last 6 years, the amount of money I give to the fire district has changed by $14. what expense in your household has only changed $14 in the last 6 years? It's crazy. I think a lot of people just take it for granted. They know that when they call 911, somebody's going to show up. I think we need the message. What do you get for the current rate next year? When you call, we won't be able to come. When you call, you might get 2 people, not 3. When you call for a mid-rise 5-story structure fire in downtown Blaine, you're gonna get 2 people to show up. The response national standard is what, 21 for a, we don't even have 21 people on duty in the whole district. So, anyway, that's my soapbox. We're underfunded. We need to get that message out. I appreciate the community being here and understanding our dilemma. So,
Chief, when does this meeting get posted to YouTube?
About an hour.
Okay. And again, what are the key words for me to look at in YouTube to find you? Just North
Markham.
is it on a link on our website?
Yes.
So if you go to,
So for members of the public that want to share this information, if they have folks that are interested in getting firsthand, they can, within a day, they'll be able to make reference to them where they can find it.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
You want to watch the most compelling video on YouTube in the past 24 hours.
So
This is the one.
one last thought, and I know we're running very short on time here. I'm concerned that fighting for $1.10 is potentially setting us up for failure. And the reason being is if we don't build in the 3% on each one of those years, if I run those numbers, I guarantee you it's going to look sordid. It's just going to look terrible. I don't see a way that that's going to work, and I haven't even looked at the computer yet. The way that I can see your vision with the budget that you've set before us coming to fruition, unless I'm really wrong in my head, which I might be, would be that we would have to do the $1.20, because there you don't necessarily have to build in the 3%, because that adds up a lot over 6 years.
It does. It also, again, it goes with the kind of traditional cost of living, and it's hard for us as an agency to not be able to keep up with, we'll call it the cost of living, right? It's, I think, again, the 26 years experiment that we've had has shown that we're not even taking a short break from what things actually cost harms the district, or it could potentially harm the district. I understand that asking for 3% a year it's a big deal, but people have to be aware of like Commissioner Anthony said, what costs now, what costs are the same today as they were 5 years ago, and the answer is zero.
And I understand all of that. I'm just thinking that the $1.10 ask, you're not as safe with that, assuming that the 3% doesn't go each year.
Correct.
You're potentially going to be underwater again within 2 years.
It could be a very short period of time, depending on, if you look at worst case scenario, yeah, it is. But I wanted to present options.
Right.
I wanted to, and I know that there's been a couple numbers that have kind of, if people were to go back through those YouTube videos, they could find a couple numbers that have been kind of batted around. But I heard resoundingly from the board and from the public, tell us what you need. Tell us what it's going to take. And I'm really trying, even though being gun shy from, 3 levy losses,
there's only so much you can do, and the
Yeah.
the numbers aren't lying. We know what we're facing.
Right.
Everyone in this room knows what we're facing. All right, thanks, Chief.
Commissioners, I'm going to dogpile just a little bit. I've been weighing some of the comments that were made, and I just wanted to highlight that map again and say that the messaging, especially for the east side, we're not meeting our mission today. Like, we can talk about Station 63 and that we need to add staffing to 62, but what's starting to show on that map to me, and just for everybody's context, I just separated that out to show us every blue dot there, we made it to the call. We made it to the call in 10 minutes or less. That was the statement that the commission wanted us to do. Every orange dot is over 10 minutes. That map doesn't show us a couple of different things. Now, eventually I'll be able to show the commission each unit's performance in their area, but I'll also be able to show you every one of these that resulted in a transport by our members and how long it took for us to get on scene before that person was transported. And every one of those orange dots is starting at plus 10 minutes that you're waiting. We'll also point out that this does not show us, but it will eventually show us, some of those blue dots are not our apparatus. So,
Like in the village.
so when Chief is talking about the 6-year plan and, my potential taking his spot years down the road, I am very much looking at those orange dots are very important to me. Staffing another station in addition to 62, and the fact that we're not meeting our mission today, that's a bold statement, I know, but that's what the data is showing us, and I think that's also important to point out.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the public needs to know. I mean, you call 911, someone shows up. I think we need to let them know that we're not showing up in an industry standard amount of time. I hate to say it this way, we're not doing as good a job as we need to do, as we're expected to do. And it's gonna result in property loss, and it's gonna result in lives lost. And I hope that we can package that message. We're not trying to scare people, we're just trying to give them the reality. One last comment.
Would the way we say that, rather than saying you're not doing the job you can do, or you're not doing the job you're expected to do, we could say something like, you're not doing the job you want to do.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
Or
For people.
even that we're supposed to be able to do.
yeah,
That,
that
We-
you
we're-
want
we've-
to do
we've-
it, but
We've got one arm tied over here and I've got a sore knee. All right, thank you. Yes, it is all in messaging to the 5th grade level. All right, new business. Anything under new business? Correspondence is in our packet. Next meeting is the 19th. Is everyone on board for that?
Yes.
Yes.
I guess I should put it on the calendar. And Chief, we're doing a presentation on the 18th.
Yes.
Okay. Next meeting, Station 63, levy lid lift. Anything else that, are we gonna have a finance person recommendation next meeting?
That would be my assumption, yes.
Are we thinking of interviewing when?
I don't want to say the dates right now because I don't,
But is the applications cut off?
we did first review as of Monday, yes.
Okay.
So, applications are cut off, I would expect us to interview in early March,
Okay.
early March. So I would expect us to have a candidate by that date.
Okay, so at least an update or a recommendation on that. Anyone else? Any-
I think I read somewhere a potential start date of April 1.
All right, then we need to sign documents and I'll entertain, let's see, are you gonna sign documents?
I'm skedaddle, but I can do it quickly.
Because I'm not gonna adjourn the meeting if you're gonna leave.
Jenny, thanks.
I know.
I'm just giving you
So we would
everything.
like everyone to sign documents. I will
There you go. You
entertain
got it all.
a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded, it's 12:30, the meeting's adjourned.
There's a lot of pressure on me.